Alabama faces an early test with a new quarterback at the helm, headed to Tallahassee and Florida State. This Florida State team is brand new, basically. They come off of a very disappointing season last year. Let's preview this week one matchup. I've got Carden here from Saturdays in the SEC. Carden, who is the guy that you're looking at on either of these teams to be the biggest question mark? Like, who are you thinking about the most when it comes to this matchup?
That would be Castellanos from
Yep.
Florida State, the quarterback. I think he's a big part of this offense this week to be successful against Alabama. I think they're going to have to utilize his legs big time. So that would be the biggest question mark for me because, we haven't really seen him in big time moments, coming over from Boston College. Didn't even finish out the year as a starter last season. So
Right.
I think that's the biggest question mark for sure. And he's no shy man when he's around a mic. He's been talking some smack. I love it. Loves a little amped up going into the games. But that's the biggest question mark for sure. It's definitely surrounding all that media presence that he's had with the confidence he's going into the season with.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like somebody who is a big Kalen DeBoer hater, but I do know for a fact that if this was a Nick Saban team, that would probably be the biggest mistake he's ever made, giving that Alabama defense bulletin board material. But hey,
100%.
in the new day and era of this Alabama team, you never know. Maybe this was exactly what they needed to rally the troops down there at Florida State. So, second question we talked about Florida State's quarterback. Let's talk about Alabama's. Ty Simpson has been named the starter. It looks like he's kind of DeBoer's guy in terms of the ideal quarterback that he's looking for, a distributor of the football and somebody with good, quick reactions. But what do you think that he is going to have to prove here in week one to keep his job, basically?
I'll be honest, I don't think that there's too much for him to prove because from all reports coming out of campus, he's dominating and he's got that QB1 job on lock. I think what we're going to find out is that he's a little better runner than what he gets credit for. He's not your traditional dual threat guy, but there's been a lot of reports out of camp that when he's got to get up and go and create a play that he can do it and he can hurt your defense bad with his legs because he can make every throw and he does make every throw, makes good decisions. That you kind of forget about him a little bit. So when that happens, he's going to make you pay. And I think that that's what we're going to see a lot of this week. I say a lot. I think we're going to see it and be like, okay, we're a little shocked. We didn't realize he had that much athleticism along with the rocket arm.
Yeah, some might say, by looking at him, quote unquote, sneaky athletic.
Yeah.
I've heard similar things. I've heard that he's been able to make some plays with his legs. And maybe he's like that Arch Manning who you're thinking, Manning family name. He's got to be a good passer, but maybe he can move with his legs a little bit as well. We'll see if Alabama kind of implements that with some kind of play action rollout stuff in the offensive scheme. But I think more of the unknown here is this Florida State roster. Quite frankly, do you think they're ready for a matchup like this in week one with almost an entirely new roster offensively and basically defensively as well?
Yeah, that's tough, especially it being week one, like you said, an all new roster. They haven't ever played a full game with each other. Yeah, they've been around each other, been training together, working out, practicing, all that stuff. But it's different when the bullets start flying. Are these guys going to gel together? I think that's a huge question mark. But even if they do, I don't know that this depth chart is deep enough to compete with Alabama's because Alabama's they're 2 and 3 deep at pretty much every position.
Yep.
I'm not sure that Florida State, even though the guys that are there, I don't know that they can stack up with them in the 2 and 3 deep. So later in the game, I think we're going to find out a lot about both of these teams. But I'm not sure that they're ready for this moment just yet. Now, this game's played week 4. My opinion's probably changed a little bit because I've seen what they can do. They play with each other. They're understanding things a little better. But it being week 1, it's hard to say. I could fall flat on my face and be completely wrong. But I just don't know that this roster is going to be ready and have enough camaraderie with one another to be able to go against this Alabama team who majority of these guys have stuck with Alabama, stayed there, and been with each other for a couple of years.
Yeah, that is one thing that I've kind of been thinking about a lot when planning for this Alabama season upcoming. in my opinion, this might be the best Alabama team since 2020 when they won the national championship during the COVID year. Not necessarily in terms of talent, but cohesion and experience, man. This Alabama team has seen a lot of action, especially on the defensive side of the football. I'm thinking of basically their team captain for the last 3 years. Deontay Lawson is back yet again. And one guy that came into this team last year, made some plays, and then got injured. Keon Sabb is also back for this secondary. I think both of those guys bring a lot of experience and playmaking ability to the point that Alabama's defense is something that I'm extremely confident in. There's a lot of people that have speculated and kind of predicted that Alabama's defense might be the best in the country. What do you think about that? Do you think that they're up to the talk?
I think that they're going to be very, very good, and I think that they definitely have a chance to be number one in the country, but they got to prove it to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sitting here in early November and being like, damn, they never miss. You know what I mean? They never have a clunker game. There was just a little bit of inconsistency last season for me to be able to buy in that they're the best or one of the best in the country. I think that they're very good, and they definitely have a chance to be. But going into week one, I don't know that we give them that yet. I definitely think that they're better than Florida State defensively for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they're one of the top 3 to 5 defenses in the college football right now.
You know what? I completely agree. I've seen a lot of those rumors and predictions online, and I'm thinking about that Vanderbilt game last year where, Diego Pavia is able to hang 30-plus points on Alabama. When you don't really – everybody gets tired of the DeBoer-Saban comparisons, but I think that game in and of itself, the penalties, the turnovers, the defense allowing so many points and third down conversions, that's where people hang their hat on these comparisons between DeBoer and Saban. Moving into that, actually, do you think that either coach could be on the hot seat with a loss here? Mike Norvell coming off of maybe the worst season in Florida State history of the 21st century, and then DeBoer with an extremely talented team, albeit year one, disappointing nonetheless. Going into year two, if Florida State comes out and outright beats Alabama or Alabama blows out Florida State, do you think either coach is on the hot seat?
I think that if any coach is going to be on it from this game, it would be Norvell. I think it'd be pretty tough to put him on the hot seat after a loss to Alabama. Yeah. Obviously, depending on what kind of loss it is. It is only week one. I don't think DeBoer is going to be on the hot seat this year. I think he's got plenty of chances if he does drop this one to prove that they're not just some dud team. I don't think that he's going to be on the hot seat. Granted, anything can happen. I think fans will start calling for it.
Yeah.
I don't think that with anybody with real power that he'll be in any type of trouble of losing his job. But Norvell, let him lose this game bad, and the murmurs are going to be louder and louder by October. If the production continues to be the same, they go out there and they get boat raced by Alabama. There's going to be some unhappy fans, and it's definitely going to be a conversation. I think more for Norvell than DeBoer, though, for sure on that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I just think when it comes to, the expectations for both of these teams, Alabama, it's kind of the yearly thing. They're supposed to be in the championship game, SEC championship or national championship game. It doesn't matter. I think those are the expectations for the Crimson Tide. But looking at Florida State, I just think can we have a better year than last year? Because that was a disaster class. I do think that Florida State has much better proven talent this year compared to last. And I'm specifically looking at a couple of transfers. One of them, I didn't even know that he had actually transferred to Florida State, Squirrel White out of Tennessee. I was very shocked to see his name here. What do you think this Florida State team can show against Alabama, who, expectation-wise, there's a gap between the two?
For sure. I think that they're going to have to, like I said, rely on the quarterback and mix in some runs with the quarterback, some design runs, some RPOs. I think obviously it's a Malzahn offense that's going to be that heavy anyway. But I think you're going to have to lean on it way more because they're not going to be able to drop back and pass Bama to death. I don't think they got the guys on the outside to consistently compete with Bama's defensive backfield, but not even that. I don't know that they're going to be able to protect Castellanos for as long as he needs to be when he drops back. They will not be able to drop back and beat Alabama through the passing game alone. I think obviously, you want to be balanced, but if they're not able to run the football period, regardless with running back or quarterback, it's going to be a long night. But they're going to have to lean on the quarterback to run the ball for him and kind of be a brutal game for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that quarterback, not necessarily quarterback power, but outside quarterback runs are going to be a focal point for Florida State. Gus Malzahn, was not the greatest coach in Auburn football history, but he was able to give Alabama fits several times throughout his career at Auburn. And I definitely think he's capable of doing the same thing here at Florida State. One guy on this line of scrimmage who I think Florida State is going to lean on a lot is Micah Pettis, the right tackle for the Seminoles. This is going to be a game that is kind of one-dimensional, in my opinion, for Florida State. Can they control the right side of that line of scrimmage, and will they just relentlessly run the ball in that direction? Because if they can do it effectively, then maybe we do see this game become a lot closer than a lot of people are expecting. Now, flipping the script here, talking about Alabama's offense, this offensive line to me is one of the best in football, especially one of the most experienced, multiple NFL guys on here. We've got Jaden Roberts, Caden Proctor that we're going to be talking about, Parker Brailsford at center who comes back. I think that he probably would be on an NFL roster right now, but decides to come back for his senior year. Alabama, obviously the clear favorite in this game and a team that we're expecting to win the line of scrimmage. But can Florida State, in your opinion, give them more fits than we're expecting?
Florida State defensively?
Florida State defensively, yes.
I really find it hard to believe. Maybe early. I just looking at this game, as much as I've looked into it, I find it really hard to believe that Florida State is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Alabama for 4 quarters. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago, about a decade ago. I know it was a different team then, but still, the rosters comparison, I just don't think that Florida State is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Alabama on either side of the ball, but especially their defense. I don't think they're going to be able to hang around for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think we could maybe see this game playing out similarly to the South Florida game last year, if you recall. South Florida, I believe, was within a couple points of Alabama there in the third quarter. But once that fourth quarter came around, the depth and the conditioning, the power of the offensive line started to overpower that South Florida team. And Alabama just ended up having a field day there in the fourth quarter. They ran for, I think, 150 plus yards in the fourth quarter alone. And that's kind of how I see this Florida State game playing out. So getting into our predictions here to wrap this up, my score prediction for me is Alabama 27, Florida State 13. I think early in this game, we're going to see it kind of be a low-scoring matchup where Alabama is still trying to get their swimming legs under them with Ty Simpson at the helm. But, I mean, would I be shocked if they come out and score drive number 1 and then it gets ugly from there? Absolutely not. But I've yet to see that from Kalen DeBoer with this Alabama team. And so I'm a little bashful when it comes to that prediction. Will they actually be able to get started early? I don't necessarily know, but I do think that they will finish strong. Carden, what have you got going on for this game?
Bama 13.5-point favorite.
Yep.
Hammer that. I don't think that it's going to be close. I think Alabama's going to start quick. I think they're going to get going fast. I think Florida State has a chance to get going fast and answer maybe once or twice in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I truly do not see Florida State scoring a point in the second half.
Wow.
Now, again, I'm not saying that this Bama defense is a top 3 to 5 defense in college football. Like I said, they got to prove it to me. But they're still a really, really, really good defense. Much better than this Florida State team that they're about to play with a bunch of question marks around the roster. They've been proven in other places, but can they play together? I just don't think that they're going to be able to, like you were talking about the depth. I don't think they're going to be able to line up for 4 quarters. I think in the second half it gets ugly. I think Bama wins 42-17, something like that.
Yeah. That could definitely be an outcome for this game. We've seen that with tons of Bama teams in the past. I mean, we saw it. We even saw it versus Wisconsin last year. That's another great comparison to this game. Alabama was on the road at Wisconsin. Wisconsin hung around with Alabama there for about the first quarter, but their quarterback gets injured and the game just got ugly from there. And that definitely could be how this game plays out. The over-under currently sits at 50.5. Carden, what have you got on that front?
Yeah, take it. I'm telling you, I think Florida State's going to score. I think they'll put up some points, but I know for a fact that Alabama's going to score, and I don't think that they're going to take it lightly. I think they're going to throw the ball all over the place. I think they're going to run the ball down Florida State's throat. I think they're going to do whatever they want to do. I truly believe that. This roster is really good. DeBoer's a fantastic offensive mind. I like Alabama to win big with lots and lots of fireworks.
Yeah, I would also like to point out that I'm a little biased when it comes to this game. I am indeed a Alabama fan my entire life. I guess I'm skeptical of both sides of the football.
Well, I'm an Auburn fan, if that makes you feel any better.
There you go. There you go. So you hear it first, ladies and gentlemen. The Alabama fan is doubting, and the Auburn fan is in full support of this Alabama blowout victory versus Florida State. Carden, let everybody know real quick where they can find you on social media. You guys do a great podcast over at Saturdays in the SEC. All right, go ahead and let them know.
Yeah, anywhere you find your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. We're also on Twitter and TikTok, Saturdays_SEC on Twitter, Saturdays in the SEC, a period in between each word on TikTok, and then Saturdays in the SEC on YouTube, Spotify, any of those places.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been checking out the TikToks recently. They've been getting some good traction. So,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, both good and bad traction. But hey, in the game of media, even the worst publicity is still good publicity.
That's what I'm saying. Comment.
Yep. And speaking of comment, make sure you leave a comment in this video. Hit that like, subscribe button. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next time.